My name is Emily Carter, and I never thought I'd end up sitting across from a police officer in a courtroom. Not as a criminal. Not as a witness. But as a woman who refused to stay silent. It started one cold evening in March. I had just finished my shift at the diner. I've been a waitress for years. Honest work, decent tips, enough to keep the lights on and food on the table for me and my daughter, Lily. She's 9 and the best thing in my life. That night, I was driving home when the flashing lights appeared in my rear-view mirror. I wasn't speeding, I wasn't swerving, nothing like that. Still, I pulled over, like anyone would. Officer Mitchell. That was his name. He walked up to my window slowly, hand already resting on his gun. He didn't say hello. Didn't ask for my license. He just looked me up and down like I was something stuck to his shoe. "Out of the car," he barked. I asked why, trying to keep calm, but his eyes narrowed. "Out." "No." So I stepped out, heart thudding. It was cold, my coat still in the passenger seat, but I didn't want to argue. He asked where I was coming from. I told him, work. At Mel's Diner. He asked if I'd been drinking. I said no, I never drink. Not with Lily waiting for me at home. He didn't like that answer. "Step over here," he said, pulling out a flashlight. "Hands on the car." I hesitated. That's when his tone changed. He leaned in close and said something I'll never forget. "Women like you think you can talk back. Don't forget who has the badge." That's when I knew this wasn't about a broken taillight or any real violation. This was about power. Control. He searched me. Roughly. Too roughly. I felt humiliated. Violated. I kept thinking of my daughter waiting for me at home, probably already in her pajamas, probably wondering why Mommy wasn't back yet. And when he finally let me go, he smiled like he'd won something. "No ticket this time," he said. "Consider it a warning." A warning for what? For being a woman. For not looking scared enough. I drove home in silence. My hands were shaking the whole way. At first, I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? A single mom waitress against a decorated officer? Officer Mitchell had been on the force for 12 years. He had a reputation. Everyone in town knew him. Said he was tough but fair. But what they didn't know is that this wasn't his first time doing something like that. I found that out weeks later, when I was helping out at the community center and overheard another woman, Marisol, talking in hushed tones about a run-in she'd had with Officer Mitchell. The details were different, but the fear in her voice was the same. That's when I realized I wasn't the only one. So I started talking. Quietly at first. Carefully. And slowly, more women came forward. Not many. Most were too scared. But enough to make me believe that if I didn't speak up, no one would. I filed a complaint. Internal Affairs interviewed me once, then never followed up. I started getting strange looks at work. I noticed a patrol car parked near my apartment more than once. Still, I didn't back down. It took months, but eventually, a lawyer named Sarah got involved. She wasn't from around here. She was fierce, young, and didn't seem afraid of anyone in uniform. "This is intimidation," she said. "And it ends here." She helped me file a civil case. The trial was brutal. Officer Mitchell sat at the defense table every day, arms crossed, staring me down like I was the one who had done something wrong. His lawyer painted me as a woman with a grudge, said I was overreacting, that I misunderstood his intentions. They tried to dig into my past, how I struggled financially, how I once missed rent, how I was a single mother. Like any of that made me less credible. But I didn't break. I sat on that stand and told the truth. I was scared, I said. Not just for myself, but for every woman who might be next. There were moments I thought about giving up. When the courtroom felt like a cage. When the stares from his fellow officers felt like knives. When I got a letter in my mailbox with no return address that just said, "Keep your mouth shut." But I kept going. Because of Lily. Because one day she might grow up and face the same kind of man who thinks a badge gives him power over someone else. And I want her to know that her mother didn't back down. When the verdict finally came, the courtroom was so quiet, you could hear the clock ticking on the back wall. Guilty. He wasn't going to prison, that's not how civil cases work, but he was stripped of his badge, removed from the force, and ordered to pay damages. The chief of police gave a press conference, full of polished words and empty promises about rebuilding trust. But I didn't care about the headlines. All I cared about was that he was no longer in uniform. No longer out there pulling over women in the dark. Outside the courthouse, Sarah hugged me. "You did it," she whispered. "You changed something." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt tired, drained, but also free. Like I could finally breathe again. That night, I went home and held Lily close. She didn't understand everything, but she knew Mommy had done something brave. "Are the bad guys gone now?" she asked sleepily. "For now," I said. "But if they come back, we fight again. Because that's what women like me do. We keep going. We speak out. And we never, ever forget that silence helps no one." He thought his badge made him untouchable. But then he faced the wrong woman in the courtroom. And I made sure he'd never forget it.